Okay, good question. So I would say, first of all, I think one question an entrepreneur should ask themselves as it relates to raising venture is, do you actually have a business that should raise venture? A lot of businesses should not raise venture capital, right? And really, you only want to raise venture capital if it's the only option to build the business that you have in mind, right? So what I mean by that is, if you think about the trade you're making when you raise venture, you're giving away part of your business that you as the entrepreneur believe is worth hundreds of millions or even maybe billions of dollars for hundreds of thousands or maybe millions of dollars, right? So that's a terrible trade if there's other ways to build that really valuable business. Now, for a lot of businesses, they need to lose money for a period of time before they can make a lot of money. And so the only way to get from here to there is raising money, because 100% of nothing is a lot less valuable than 70% or 50% or 30% of a big number, right? So sometimes you have to make that trade. But I think a first question to ask yourself is, do you want to make that trade? And then if you do, right, if you have that kind of business that needs to lose money for some amount of time and you don't have other ways to provide that capital, then you should absolutely talk to investors, right? So Paul talked about he and his co-founder are bootstrapping the business, right? They're basically saying, yeah, we know our business needs to lose money for a period of time, but we can provide much more inexpensive capital from our personal balance sheets than from an investor like me. And I think that's a totally rational thing to do. Once you, though, are in that universe where it's like, okay, yeah, I should talk to an investor, I think it becomes a bit driven based on what type of stage that startup is, right? So at the early stage where we're investing, we're really trying to assess is a lot of the things Paul was talking about and what's often called in the market today product market fit, right? Do you serve a group of customers who are a good market, right? And do you solve a real problem for them that's meaningful enough that you can build a viable business? If the answer to those questions are yes, then you can have lots of conversations about, okay, what have you done with the limited amount of capital you've spent so far? What can you do with the amount of capital that you're looking to raise here to make your business much more valuable, right? But I think that at the early stage, that's what you're trying to assess. As you move to these later stage financings, maybe raising 10, 20, $50 million, then what you're trying to do is a very different conversation. It's more like, I've got this machinery where if I put $1 in the top of this machine, a lot more than $1 comes out the bottom. And you're basically trying to prove to them that machinery is robust, scalable, not brittle, makes a ton of sense. And if that's where you are, then you're talking about a very different type of financing. But across that whole stack, I think in general, it's really great that entrepreneurship is a lot more popular than it was 20 years ago. Today, there's lots of people taking these entrepreneurial jobs. Is much more popular. I think one downside to it, though, is that we've glamorized the fundraising process, right? And the fundraising process is a necessary evil. That's being said as someone who spends a large part of my day every day writing the checks. It's a necessary evil. Now, if it's actually necessary, right, if there's no other way to do it, awesome. But if there are other ways to grow your business other than working with people like me, you absolutely should do it. We're slow moving. We exercise a lot of control. We take a lot of your business in return for the capital we're providing. And so you should only make that trade if it's like, okay, this is the only way I get from here to there.